All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to talk about industrial energy management, but maybe not in the way you're used to. We're going to look at it as a true strategic framework. So forget thinking of this as just a task for cutting costs. We're elevating it to what it really is, a core business discipline, something absolutely essential for hitting operational excellence in any industrial setting. Let's get into how to build this thing from the ground up. So here's our game plan. First, we'll establish why this is a core business discipline. Then, we're going to build our framework, piece by piece, pillar by pillar. We'll talk about getting the right team in place, how to really harness the power of data, setting goals that actually matter, deploying your resources like a pro, and finally, nailing the communication that makes the whole thing work.
Okay, so first things first. We have to shift the conversation. This is about so much more than just shaving a few percentage points off the utility bill. Real industrial energy management is about systemic, deep operational efficiency that's woven right into the core of the business. So what's our working definition here? Well, it's the strategic management of energy consumption. And that word strategic is key. This isn't just about flicking off switches. It's a really comprehensive approach that looks at your most energy-hungry assets, full system integration, and smart fuel optimization. You know, this is a high-level function that hits your bottom line and your operational resilience square on.
That brings us to our very first pillar, the human architecture of success. I love that phrase because look, you can have the most brilliant strategy on paper, but it's going absolutely nowhere without the right people behind the wheel.
Now, what's so critical here is the structure of this team. Of course, you need a strong leader, but the magic word is cross-functional. You need people from multiple departments. Just imagine this. You've got finance, operations, and engineering all sitting at the same table, all speaking the same language about energy. Their job? To do the deep dive technical analysis, build an ironclad business case with rock-solid savings estimates, and, this is the big one, prepare and present funding proposals that management can't say no to.
On to our second pillar, and this is where the rubber really meets the road, data. Data-driven verification is the engine that proves the value of every single thing you do. It's how you go from, we think we're saving energy, to, we know we saved X dollars.
So what kind of data are we talking about? Well, it all starts with the basics, right? Your utility bills. But to really get professional, you absolutely need real-time data from your energy management system, your EMS. Think of it as the central nervous system of your facility's energy use. And then, to make sense of all that information, specialized software isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's what turns all those numbers into actual intelligence.
And this is how that data becomes intelligence. It is not enough to just have one big number for the whole plant. You have to be able to slice and dice it. You start at the macro level, maybe by department. Then you can drill down to a specific industrial process, then to a specific system within that process. And you keep going all the way down to a single piece of equipment. One inefficient motor, one leaky valve. That's how you find the waste and target your efforts for the biggest bang for your buck.
Now, here's a step that separates the pros from the amateurs: weather normalization. Look, if you want to compare this summer's energy use to last summer's, you have to account for the fact that this year might have been way hotter, right? Adjusting for weather conditions means you're creating a true apples-to-apples comparison. It gives you a defensible, accurate picture of your performance over time.
Let's talk about our third pillar, because this is where it all starts to come together. Once you have that solid, clean, normalized data, now you can actually set meaningful goals. We're talking about moving away from vague ambitions and toward actionable metrics that are perfectly aligned with the business.
And this slide just says it all, doesn't it? On one hand, you have save energy. That's not a goal, that's a wish. On the other hand, you have a strategic goal, demonstrate continual improvement per ISO 5001. Now that is a professional objective. It's specific, it's measurable, and it's tied to an international standard that management understands and respects.
So why is ISO 5001 so powerful? Because its entire philosophy is built around this one key phrase: continual improvement. This isn't about a one-and-done project. It's about creating a persistent, evolving process that looks at everything: efficiency, security, use, and consumption. It completely changes the game from a series of projects to an ongoing business practice.
And the framework itself is just this elegant, logical cycle. You develop a policy. You set targets based on that policy. Use all that great data you've been collecting to make smart decisions. You meticulously measure and verify your results, and then you review and improve. It's the classic plan, do, check, act cycle, just with a laser focus on energy performance.
So that brings us to our fourth pillar. To actually execute on that cycle and meet those big, standards-based goals, you need to be really smart about deploying your resources. And let's be honest, no team can do it all by themselves.
This chart really breaks down that resource mix perfectly. First, you've got your internal muscle, your EMS and your software. Then, for those really tricky problems where you have a knowledge gap, you bring in external consultants, the subject matter experts. And finally, for that crucial independent verification, you use certified professionals for things like audits and retro-commissioning. It's all about having the right expert for the right job.
And now we've arrived at our final, and you could argue, most critical pillar of all, communication. Because all of that brilliant technical work, all that data, all those savings, they're basically meaningless if you can't communicate them effectively to your stakeholders. This is the glue that ensures transparency, keeps the momentum going, and drives accountability.
And we are not talking about a quick email update here. A truly professional program requires formal, rigorous reporting. You need to deliver the actual energy studies, present your recommendations with all the data to back them up, share detailed implementation plans, report on the measured savings, not just estimates, and provide all the necessary certification paperwork. This is how you build trust and make the case for continued investment.
So let's end with this question, a challenge for you to take back to your own organization. Take a hard look at your approach to energy. Is it just a series of disconnected projects, always hunting for the next one-off saving? Or have you built a true strategic framework with the right people, the right data, and the right goals that's designed for something far more powerful, continual, systemic improvement? That right there is the question that will define your success.